What's up, buddy?
How's it going?
Good, man. So, MMA Media Tournament. You want to see us all fight each other? Who are you booking?
I want to see everybody. Man, when that whole thing blew up, I was looking forward to booking a fight just so I could face everyone and say, ask me to my face what my intentions were, because they weren't malicious. As you probably have heard me speak about it, but yeah. I just wanted a deeper connection between us and you guys, and understanding of what we go through on weeks like this, what it's like to be away from our family and have the pressure and cutting weight, and we're trying to, keep a smile on our face, and just that emotional roller coaster. Like I've just wanted you guys to know what it felt like and just have a deeper understanding of that.
Were you surprised by the reaction of some of us? I know the fans were they were big into the idea, but were you surprised that maybe some MMA media were a little bit offended by it?
Yeah, and I get why, because I was, it was explained to me, and I thought some guys were a little touchy. And I thought that was funny because we're always being accused of being touchy and sensitive. And I was like, oh, look how the tables have turned, So it was all for good conversation. But yeah, in no way would I say that you're not good at your job or that you don't deserve to be there, unless I really thought that you intentionally tried to switch people's words around and stuff like that. Because at the end of the day, that was my little bit of a beef, is just what I say is important, and if you try to manipulate it in any way, that offends me,
I don't want you to name any names or any outlets or anything, but do you have like a story in mind?
I have a list.
Oh,
no,
really?
no.
Do you have one in particular that you're like, that was really unfair or anything like that?
Yeah, I've done interviews, and I think a lot of the problems are when I do like I'm on a radio show, and then they'll have an independent person read the, like what we said, and then write an article, and then they do like the bait click headlines, which just drive me nuts, because I'm all about the old school, good stories, what this person's been through, what they're coming back from, because that's what this sport is about. It's like I just get a little offended when I tell you something that's going on in my life that's hard and that I'm working through, and then you guys ask me last second, what do you think about what Connor just said? And then I answer the question, and that's the headline. It's like, well, that's besides the point. That wasn't what the interview was about. I just get tired of that, and that's why I do a lot less interviews nowadays.
I can understand that. What would you feel about the suggestion that maybe MMA media don't have to take a fight, but I'd be interested to see what they would do during a weight cut? Like maybe we should all just do a massive weight cut and see how you guys feel doing that.
I mean, any of the things are very unique in its own, but to do them all together, I've heard people say, I'll come train with you for a day, and I laugh and I say, no, don't come train with me for a day, train with me for 3 months. See how you feel after 3 months, like training for a day isn't that hard. You can get through it. But when you train for a day and then I come knocking the next morning to pick you up and you got to do it again and then again and then again, you start to like, nah, I don't want to do this anymore. So it gets really difficult, and what makes us a different breed is how much we can dig deep, So at the end of the day, I just don't want to be portrayed any other way than the way I would like. And that's why I appreciate having my own social media and being able to say, this is what represents me.
Yeah, last thing on this topic from me. Do you think, having the conversations after that, seeing the reaction from some media, that you've come to sort of get a new understanding of it? Or do you think that actually your suspicions of how MMA journalists behave sometimes are actually being confirmed?
I think, first of all, why some of the media members got offended is, I think, having a journalism degree and going through all those hardships and trying to get into
I've got a journalism degree. It's not that hard.
But trying to do all the things to be the best at your craft. Like, I respect that, and I was never trying to discredit that, just to clarify. But yeah, I think with all the conversations that have been had, I think media can respect me a little bit more, and they can ask me and say, hey, what did you mean by that? And I'll explain myself, and I'll have I literally had 2-hour conversations on the phone with a couple people that I've known for a long time that said, yeah, I knew that I know you, so I know you didn't mean it like maliciously. And we just had like a back and forth conversation, and it was really cool. Made me have a better appreciation for media in general. But the things that was complaining about are kind of across the board in media. It's just the world we're in right now. So, nothing against you guys personally.
Cool. Well, thanks for talking about it.
Yeah.
You mentioned then that media like to talk to you, and you express things that's going on in your life. What's going on in your life right now? How's the life of Cub Swanson?
Well, I think everyone's going through a hard time right now, and I've really been able to count my blessings, and just really appreciate my time with my family, and being around all my training partners, and yeah, because there seems to be a lot of bad things that have been happening, deaths and obviously politics, which I don't want to get into, and you just seen a lot of divide, and I think this sport has really shined in the midst of all that. And it's been cool to be able to see all my coworkers, in a sense, my peers, being able to still work and be able to perform and put on good shows for all these people that need entertainment.
Does it make you proud? I mean, I remember there was a time where saying you were a fighter, some people would sort of, their eyes would widen and they would be like, oh shit.
Yeah.
But do you think now, especially because the UFC's been able to go so on through the pandemic and keep providing people entertainment, do you feel a new sense of pride that, this is something that's more readily available and accepted by mainstream, and I can be proud that I am a fighter?
Yes. I feel that way very much so. When I first got into this sport, I had been getting into trouble, my story. I was a little bit of a punk kid and had gotten into trouble. And when I found Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and that got me off of, drugs and, just living this lifestyle that I shouldn't have been, became an obsession for me. And then transitioning into fighting, I saw it as like, this is it. This is what's going to keep me on the right track. And when I told people in my family that didn't understand, like you're cage fighting, like that, it seemed like I was doing the same thing. It seemed very parallel to me getting into trouble, and I had to explain. And I've spent the last almost 18 years explaining to people the art of the sport and the discipline it takes, and how that we're elite athletes, and that's been my passion this whole time. I've been educating people since day one on what this sport is all about, and I think we're seeing that today. I think we're finally getting the respect up there with the biggest sports. Like, this is the realest sport there is. It's one-on-one. It's me and this other person, whether we have an issue or not, we're going to fight. We settle it. We shake hands afterwards. It's a lot of respect. Not always, but usually. And to me, that's pure. There's no excuses. There's no team. There's no ball. There's no interruptions. It's just the purest sport of them all, in my opinion.
Awesome. Well, when you look at this weekend, Giga Chikadze, what do you think about him? He's a guy on the rise. He seems like a guy with great talent. Mm-hmm. When you look at him, how do you see the fight playing out? And what about him in particular excites you or perhaps worries you?
Well, I always give a lot of respect to anyone I fight. I think when I don't, I get myself into trouble. So I really respect his strengths, which are obviously his kicks and his kickboxing background. I don't think that he's as well rounded as he needs to be in the top of the UFC in our division. I know he's working all those things, and he's got a good team. But yeah, his he's got a good record, and I don't know. I don't think the guys he fought have been the best of the division yet. So I don't think that he deserves to be up up at the top yet. I think he's on his way, and he's got to get through me, obviously. And I think I'm going to be a tough test for him. And I see myself reminding people why I've been around so long.
Looking forward to it, man. Thanks very much.
You.
You mentioned earlier the 3 months, how you'd offer for media to do 3 months. I think that would be invaluable. I think any of us would be ridiculous to pass up that opportunity if you ever gave it. But please don't. But jumping on that, going back to when you were talking about that, one of the things that I thought was great was that here you were coming out saying I think what a lot of other fighters probably wanted to say as well. Did they reach out to you as well and say, hey, Cub, good on you for kind of pushing back a little bit? What was the response from your coworkers or your peers when it came to that whole time?
Yeah. Some of them aren't so diplomatic, but I got people saying, yeah. And it was both good and bad that people jumped on because they kind of put their spin on it. But like I said, I think overall it was good for conversation. But I got more media writing me than fighters. But the fighters were just like, yeah, what you said. I hate when they do this or I hate when they do that, and just never really spoke up about it. So it was nice to know that we were kind of on the same page about things, and whether you chalk it up to just being a part of the sport or something that will one day change. I don't know, but like I said, I think it was great. We were talking about it.
And I love your story, and I love how you've shared your troubled past and how you reached out to youth and you've reached out to troubled youth. Did you ever envision, even when it came to being sort of the spokesman for your coworkers in this aspect, did you ever envision yourself that one day you would be more of a vocal piece? Being out here educating people, speaking to things. Did you ever think at one point when you got into this that you would end up to where you are right now?
No. I was just happy to be a part and feel kind of validated that to be in the big show and to be with the best of them. But as you grow, you gotta put more on your shoulders and reach higher. And that's what I've been able to do over the years. And I, like what I was talking about earlier. It used to be where I was embarrassed to say what I did for a living because, not really embarrassed, I just felt like people didn't understand what I was doing. And now that it became cool, and now it's really like, it's very accepted. Wow, you fight in the UFC. I feel proud of that, what I've accomplished and being able to represent the company. And I try to represent the company the best way possible. You don't hear me getting any DUIs or, any kind of criminal troubles anymore, And a long time ago, when I realized I started getting a following back home, it was very crazy to me because I would run into some very, in my hometown, I'd run into some very connected people, let's say leaders of some organizations. And they would come up to me and give me respect. And I realized that these people were respecting me, and the police officers were respecting me, and teachers. And I realized that how people were starting to look up to me. And I had the opportunity to make a good impact or a bad impact. And sometimes I get frustrated with athletes that don't care and don't want to have a positive influence because you don't want that responsibility, but you have that responsibility. And so I just decided from then on that I would try to be a good influence. And as I've gotten more mature and older, I've talked about, the fears of fighting, the ups and downs, just because the next generation, I want them to have somebody that they can learn from. For me, being in the locker room with George St. Pierre and him talking about how he didn't want to be there with like the most somebody who is like so dominant at the time was just terrified and didn't want to be there. And I was like, wow, he gets nervous. It made me feel like my feelings were okay, you know. So I want the next generation of fighters to understand that it's all part of being tougher. You know, you have those feelings, you have those emotions, you deal with it head on, and you make the best of it. And I feel like, you know, it just kind of makes you better at life.
And what I love about that sentiment is trying to leave the lasting impression of a role model, whereas I think in this day and age, and get your thoughts on this, a lot of times it's almost the guys that come out and play the heel, play a character, you know, or going out and maybe representing something to get that bigger initial paycheck next, that next big thing, but maybe aren't talking about the lasting legacy. What is more important? I'm sure, obviously, the big paychecks are always important, but at the end of the day, what is it? Is it more about what you want to leave after in how you carry yourself through this career, or is there ever a day when Cub is going to turn heel and start, you know, giving us all these crazy antics and things?
No, I've tried to be true to myself from day one, and you know, I tried out for season 5 of The Ultimate Fighter, and they basically said that I didn't have TV personality, and I was okay with it because I said if I don't get on trying to being myself, I'm okay with that. But if I didn't get on and I tried to play a role or a character or tried to be something I wasn't and I didn't get on, or even if I did trying to be something I wasn't, I wouldn't feel good about it. So that's been how I've been the whole way. I feel like when you're trying to pretend to be something you're not, yeah, you may make more money, but is that worth it in the long run? You know, like that money comes and goes. For me, it's about, you know, I always envisioned walking my kids to school one day, and if someone's gonna be like, "Hey, Cub, you were a prick," you know, or it's like I don't want that. I want them to be like, "Hey, I loved watching your fights. You always brought it. You're always been like a cool dude." So that's been like my mentality the whole way.
That's wonderful. And something going along with the pride of being a fighter, is there something else now, or are you seeing more of it now with the fact that UFC is going to Jacksonville? They're opening up fully capacity. Are you getting another sense of pride knowing that the UFC is being sort of on the forefront and willing to open things up and help push that forward to help get back, I guess, to that old sense of normal?
Yeah, I am proud of it. It's a little scary too, because I don't want to be, you know, having own businesses and knowing about liability, and it gets scary to think like, okay, we don't want anything bad to happen, so you're hoping for best case scenario. But it's pretty cool to see the UFC be the forefront of that before all other organizations, and no one wants to make the mistake. And Dana's been, you know, like I said, really good about it. So my hat's off to the UFC for everything they've done. And I think the staff, having worked this whole time, it's been amazing. But I really, really, really want to give a shout out to all the fighters who have had to train during these hard times and make changes in their camps and not have as many people around. And I think the fighters deserve a hell of a lot for you know, being able to show up ready to fight during all of this, because you know, a lot of guys didn't even have their gyms open. So to ask a fighter to show up and be ready without even having your essential things there, you know, like I said, I think my hat's off to them. And like I said, my hat's off to the UFC for making that available for us and being able to still provide for our families.
Thank you for that. Two last questions. I appreciate your time. What's been, you know, you're talking about the fighters and the times that they have to spend. You have a few young ones at home. What's been the biggest challenge, I guess, as you said, keep getting back in the gym and keep doing this, taking yourself away from the family. What's been the biggest challenge and the hardest thing with a young family at home to stay motivated to keep doing this?
In the beginning, it was really hard to stay motivated. You know, a little bit of sleep deprivation, just me and my wife saying it's your turn to change this diaper. You know, it gets tough, you know, but it's made us stronger together. But at this point, I've gotten used to it being tough, and maybe I got pampered a little bit at some point with having success and being alone and being able to just do whatever I want. And this is, you know, they say that fighters need some struggle in their life, and I got 3 kids. It's a lot of struggle. So I'm able to hang out with them, and I finally learned how to have the balance between it. So I work out really hard, and then I hang out with them, and then we have help during the week on certain days. I can take advantage of the rest, but I mean I'm with my kids just as much as I'm training, and I think it's awesome, and that's been important to me because I don't want to keep putting them aside to chase a dream that I've been chasing for, you know, selfishly for years. You know, now is the time to slowly transition out healthy. You know, that way when I'm done fighting, it's not like a shock. Like I'm slowly transitioning out and making a life for myself, you know, beyond fighting. And I have my family to thank for that.
And that made me think, and I'm not trying to push you out, but since you brought that up, what is the timeline? What is the dream scenario? We talking 4 years from now, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? You know, what is the is there a plan? Is there a sort of a set date? Is it an age? Is it an amount of fights?
Yeah, just I honestly think I got a couple more years. I don't want to. I literally take every fight like it's my last. I've been doing that for a while because I've had some major injuries in my career, and it's made me really know that it could be taken away at any moment. And so that's been kind of amazing that I've been around this long. But yeah, I think I got a couple more years. I don't really want to put too much on it because a couple wins drags you this way, you know, losses drag you this way. So I'm taking it one thing at a time, but I would love an ideal scenario to work my way back up the rankings one more time. And above all, I would love a retirement fight in Palm Springs, that they're building a 10,000 person arena, hockey arena in Palm Springs. And I would love to bring this sport back to my hometown where I started.
Sounds perfectly. And finally, when you look at this fight, what are the keys to the victory for you? What needs to happen to make sure that you get your arms raised at the end of the night?
You know, I always get asked this question. It's a simple answer, not, you know, easier said than done. But at this point in martial arts, it's about, in MMA in general, it's about who dictates the pace and who dictates the distance. And I think that's the major key here. I think, you know, for him to win, he likes a certain distance. He likes to maintain his pace, that he feels comfortable, that he can throw all his kicks and move around and be elusive. And I need to disrupt that. I need to be on the outside moving as well, and then in his face, and then roughing him up, make him uncomfortable, make him tired. And all those things messes his rhythm up. And I'm confident that I could do that. And that just makes him think, oh man, I'm having an off night. And that means it's a good night for me.
Thank you. Best of luck.
Thank you.
So you've been talking forever. I just have one follow-up for you, though. You talked about, like, when you finally realized all the different people from different sides of the community came together and they all respected you and they all had their eyes on you, and it really inspired you to live the right way. How did you kind of avoid feeling like pressure, like to live up to, if all these people want a certain thing from you and want you to be a certain way and all eyes are on you all the time, it's got to be hard to not slip up at some point along the way? Yeah,
I felt a lot of pressure. It was the first time I ever felt pressure because I didn't want it, you know. But I came to realize that it was the path I chose. See, that was the crazy thing, because I wanted to be a fighter to just see how good I could be. I never wanted to be famous. I never wanted to be a superstar. I don't crave that attention. I could be alone in the corner and no one ever talk to me. That doesn't bother me. It doesn't poke at my ego. So when those things came along with it, it was a surprise. And I said, hey, you asked for this. You didn't know everything that came with it, but get used to it. And instead of shying away from it, I learned to carry it on my shoulders. And that's what I keep talking about being at this point in my career of where I've come. It's crazy to be able to have that. I keep calling it the championship mentality, because the champions in this sport have way more obligations than anybody else. When you're the main event, your media obligations, everything that they ask you to do is way more. So it's a lot more to carry, and rightfully so. So this whole career has taught me how to put things on my shoulders and move forward. Thanks, guys.